Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
We are approaching the end of the book of Deuteronomy in our annual Torah readings as we approach the end of this Jewish year, beginning again Genesis again after Sukkot. And our focus has been getting everybody ready to go into the land. That's Moses' purpose in really the book of Deuteronomy. He's gathered everyone together. We'll see that actually even next week when he says, today you're standing all together. And he's giving them all the things that they need to know in order to go into the land. And up until this point in time, most of these things have actually been a repetition or reminder of what has happened over these last 40 years in the desert. Okay, that makes sense. Some history, you have to know where you come from. All of that makes sense. But we get to this week's Torah portion, and it's actually the first time that we have an acknowledgement, really in the open, of where they're going. So you can find the beginning of this week's Torah portion on page 1140 in the Eitz Chaim books that are in front of you. Deuteronomy chapter 26. Parasha Ki Tavo el haaretz. When you enter the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a heritage, and you possess it and you settle it. Finally, after 40 years of wandering in the desert, we now have, this is what's going to happen when you go into the land. And what's interesting to me here, and what I want to talk about this morning is, what is the first thing that we're supposed to do when we go into the land of Israel? Anybody know before reading on to the next few sentences? Bikurim. What is Bikurim? The first fruits.
Pay your taxes.
Yeah. Yes. So let's look at verse 5. Actually, verse 4. Right? The priest shall take the basket from your hands. This is actually the process. We can go back a little bit. Actually, let's go to verse 2. That's really what I wanted to start with. You shall take some of the first fruit of the soil, which you harvest from the land that the Lord your God is giving you, and put it in a basket, and go to the place where the Lord your God will choose to establish his name. And then we have this ceremony that you're about to do with these bikurim, with these first fruits. So my question to you is, why? Of all of the things that we could be doing, what's the significance of this bikurim ceremony? Why is it that we give these first fruits? Anybody want to hazard a guess? This is the audience participation part of our day. Yes?
Sort of as an acknowledgement that you could have done it yourself.
That we couldn't have. Yeah, so it's an acknowledgement that we couldn't have done it ourselves, and so we pay homage, we say thank you to God for that. I like that. What else? Why might we be giving these first fruits?
When you're getting first fruit out of the ground, it's a direct connection with the land, which God has given you. So it's not just something being given to you, but now you're getting something from it, and you're now creating a cycle.
Great. Oh, I like that, right? Mark said that when you take the first fruits from the ground, it's really that direct connection to the land, and when you take something from it and you give it back, you've now created this cycle, right? And it's not just that we're taking, which if we think about it, that's kind of what we did for the last 40 years, right? In the desert, we didn't have the ability to take care of ourselves. And we kvetched and complained about that at every turn, right? We don't have water. We don't have food. We need quail. We need manna. We need all of this sort of stuff, right? God had to take care of everything for us in the desert. And we've already gotten the message from God a little earlier than this that things are going to change. When you go into the land of Israel, things are going to change. And you need to be involved in that. And so we've now created this cycle. I like that, Mark. Diana.
I think it's kind of like, almost like a kickoff of the start of this whole new thing. Like with this, the big part here is the speech that goes with it. It's not just an action. There's a declaration.
Yes.
And it's a declaration to God. And the other thing that was notable, or is notable, is it's lecha and not lachem. And often God will give things to you, plural. I wish English made it easier to understand.
Well, if you come from the South, it works well. It's y'all, not you. Right? Right. It's hard to get the plural in English. But in Hebrew, it's very clear that this is singular. God talking to you as a person as opposed to y'all.
And you, in turn, are doing this, so you're establishing this relationship and this idea of giving, which goes on for perpetuity, because then they'll give the fruits. The fruits will then, I think it's years 3 and 6, go to the poor, and they go to the priest. So it's a whole process.
Right. It is establishing a process, which we're going to get to in a second. You said two things. You said two things that are really, really important. First of all, you talked about a declaration. Let's look at that declaration for a moment. Okay? That's verse 5. And you shall then recite as follows before the Lord your God. Right? You're going to bring these first fruits, and you're going to say, my father was a fugitive Aramean, wandering Aramean. It's often translated. We recognize this from the Passover Haggadah. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there, but there he became a great and populous nation. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. They imposed heavy labor. We cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our plea and saw our plight and our misery and our oppression. The Lord freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, with awesome power by signs and portents. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. It continues on a little bit more, but I wanted you to hear that because in those 4 verses, we just summarized our entire history. It's actually such a well-written declaration that covers everything, right? In essence, we get to the land of Israel. We take these bikurim, these first fruits, before we even get a chance to eat them. And the rabbis tell us these can't be, the little skimpy things. We have a fig tree in our backyard, right? The first fruits on that fig tree were actually inedible, right? They were hard. They weren't really there. That's not what we're talking about here, right? The choice, the good, right? That's what we're talking about. Those first fruits, before you even have a chance to eat anything, you bring these first fruits to God. And what do? We look back. We say, this is where I came from. And I'm here today because of my history. It's probably one of the most, what I would say, Jewish moments. It's what we do. Right? We look at our lives through the lens of our past, through the lens of history all the time. And that lens helps us shape the future. And that's what the Bikurim piece is. The Bikurim is about the future. The first fruits is about the future. We haven't even had a chance to see what it is yet, and we're already acknowledging that. And it's a moment of connection. It's a nexus for us between the past and between the future. The question is why, right? Back to this question. We still haven't answered yet why. What is the point of this? What does this do for us at this moment by doing this? What does it do for us as a people? Vard.
Everyone that chooses to do this is now invested in this new venture in the community.
Great. Everyone who chooses to do this, everyone who chooses to do this is now vested in this new endeavor, right? This new project of building this land, of living on this land. It's a way to connect people into it. It's a way to get everybody together. We've seen this before, right? We've seen it with when they were building the tabernacle in the desert, with everybody giving a little bit so that everyone felt like it was partially theirs, right? Everyone is vested. Everyone is connected. Anything else? Please, Brian. Yeah, it's proof that they're not just people passing through, right? When you're a farmer, when you're creating produce, you're there, you live there. That land and you're part of one another, right? There's that connection there. Okay. Debbie?
I would say it anchors us as a people, it unifies us, it gives us the commonality of a shared past and a unified future of what we do. This is what we do as a people.
Good. It unifies us, it anchors us. Take it one more step. We're almost there. We're almost there, yeah. Anchors us to God. Folks, as we are faced with building a new society, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what kind of society do we want to build? What does it look like? This is a turning point. Ki Tavo, this parsha, is a turning point in the story. We are no longer just trying to survive in the desert. That's what the last 40 years have been about. We have to get out of Egypt. We have to survive in the desert. But now we're starting to look forward towards that unified society. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what does that look like? What does the society that we're going to build look like? Is it going to be a society of compassion? Is it going to be a society of indifference? Is it going to be a society that cares for the stranger and the widow, as it says in Deuteronomy? Or is it going to be one that forgets its own past, forgets that we were a wanderer, we were strangers, we were that? The Torah reminds us here that it's not just about law, it's about identity. The mitzvot that we have, the commandments that we have, the laws that we have are there not just because God told us to, but because those actions, those beliefs, those values shape us. They create a society that is reflective of those values. And so we bring the first fruits. We say, the first produce of the land isn't for me. It gets us thinking outside of ourselves. We then state this declaration saying, I was a wanderer. I was that person that I tend to forget about. And then we move into the section that Diana is going to read today of blessings and curses. And I think that it's one of the most misunderstood sections of Torah. Because more often than not, we read these blessings and curses and we put ourselves into this idea, this is magical thinking, right? If we do good things, then poof, God's going to wave a magic wand and good things are going to happen to us. And if we do wrong things, then poof, right? Magic, bad things are going to happen to us. But it's not these blessings and curses are there not about, it's not to say that God is going to do these things, but it reminds us that there are consequences to the actions that we do. It's a moral cause and effect. The society that we build, the choices that we make, shapes the future that ultimately we're going to inherit. That's the moment that we're at right now. What type of society, what type of community do we want to be? And it doesn't take a long search to go through the news and to see we're missing the mark. We're missing the mark. We're not creating, we're not living, we're not fostering a society that is based on these values. And we see the violence and the hate, and we see the enmity, and we see the struggle that it creates for us in this society. This Torah portion is a reminder that that is not something that can or should be taken for granted. And by the way, it's not something that God is going to fix for us. If we want to live in a society of peace, if we want to live in a society where we work together, if we want to live in a society where people can speak whatever they want to speak without risk of losing their lives, we have to build that society. We have to remember where we came from, and we have to work to bring those first fruits, to bring the best of ourselves, not the worst of ourselves. Only then are we going to be able to build that society that is reflective of that promised land, whether we're living in the land of Israel or living anywhere else. Ki Tavo, it's translated as when you get there. But ki can also be translated as if. If you get to the promised land, if you get to this place, it's going to be because of the work that you do, the work that we do, and the society that we build together. We're approaching Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Tonight is Slichot, the beginning of those prayers that allow us, that cause us to say, wait a second, it's time to take a look at who I am. It's time to take a look at the values that I put forward. It's time to build a society that is reflective of everything that we could be. That is the message of this week's Parsha. It's the message leading into the High Holy Days. And it's one of the most important messages, I would argue, that we can look at for this coming year. Shabbat Shalom.